Hi, welcome back to the channel. So today we're doing an update on the Kubota 5100 tractor rebuild. Here it is right here. The obvious thing that you may be seeing from the last video is the engine has been removed. So let's take a look. So right down here is the bell housing for the tractor. And right here is where the engine is mounted. I had to take the engine off because I realized through the rebuild process that some additional work was going to need to happen in order to get the pistons, the new pistons and the new rings installed. So I'll touch on that a little bit later. But here's the bell housing. Here's both the inlet and the non-pressurized side and the pressurized side of the hydraulic pump. This is the glow plug wire. This is the steering arm and the wiring harness to the starter. And if you come over here, I'll just show you some more parts. Here's the starter for the tractor right here. I've received my new Record radiator for the tractor. So I've got a brand new core installed with the original upper and lower tanks welded back on, and I gave everything a nice coat of shiny black paint, and I've dry fitted the fan shroud back on. I gave the radiator cap a nice paint job. So that's ready for reinstallation once we get to that point. I've also gone ahead and sanded, primed, and painted the muffler guard, as well as just cleaning up the muffler as well. So whenever we get to the point where we put everything together, it will go together nice and easy, and we'll do it hopefully in one try. I've got things, prepped and painted and put into Ziploc bags just to keep things nice and tidy and organized. Okay, so what I ended up doing is I used my trusty beam with a piece of chain, and I managed to use that with my floor jack by myself to get the engine separated from the tractor. So now let's go over to the workbench and I'll show you the engine. All right, so here's the engine right here. I've got it resting on two 4x4 blocks on the work table. I'll just show you what I've done so far. So over here, I've removed the clutch plate and the clutch disc, and I'm exposing the flywheel. So maybe before I get too far into it, I'll explain what was my experience and why I had to go to this level of deconstruction or disassembly of the engine. So that last video showed the successful installation of the sleeves, and that project went really well. And then I ordered my brand new Kubota piston. So that part number is 15261-21110 piston, and that's the standard size piston. So when I bought my piston a couple of weeks ago, I took it out of the bag. Here it is right here. I just want to call attention to this. So just pay attention to the fact that the piston doesn't go into the sleeve. So the piston, even though it's a standard piston, the dimension of it is still such that it's too big to fit inside the sleeve. Okay? So to my surprise, that put a bit of a damper on things, because I thought it was going to be a straightforward installation. So to further complicate the matter, have a look at my ring set. So that's part number 15271-21052. And I'm just going to grab the oil ring, just like this. Okay, and just to show, I'm just going to compress the oil ring with my fingers. And if you can see this, basically got no ring gap at all, and the ring itself does not go into the bore or does not go into the sleeve any further than that. What I want to get out, or what I'd like to achieve in this video, is to share my experience with you. If you go ahead and you try to execute a rebuild of a similar or this kind of engine, and this is the Z500 engine from Kubota, and you go to the Kubota website parts catalog and you make your selection for the parts that you need, be aware that if you replace the sleeves and you buy brand new pistons and rings, there is going to be an issue with the clearance. It turns out, through my experience now, is that these sleeves, they're dry sleeves. These sleeves are unfinished, which means this engine has to be sent to a machine shop, and the sleeves have to be cut. The inside diameter has to be enlarged in order to accommodate the brand new piston and rings. The learning here is you have to account for the fact that after you've installed your brand new sleeves, don't think that you can just slap or you can just install brand new pistons and rings like I did. It turns out once the new sleeves get installed, the sleeves and the engine have to be machined to the correct size. So I have a machine shop already lined up to do that work. They've instructed me that I have to have essentially the bare engine block. So that means the crankshaft has to come out, the flywheel, the clutch has to be removed, the front cover has to be removed. So that's what this video is going to be, is to give a snapshot of some of the work involved to get this engine block to a point where it's ready to be dropped off to the machine shop for machining. So with that, let's get into it. I put a little mark with my center punch right here, and that's going to line up with, I put a little center punch on every bolt, so when I put this back, I'll just put that bolt and then make my way around clockwise, so 2, 3, 4, 5 will go there. There's a locating pin here, and there's a locating pin there. So let's see if we can get a screwdriver in here. It all started with low compression. You know, this engine wouldn't start, and here we are now having to tear the engine down right to its core. here's the, whoops, here's the end cap removed. And this is the top. But I mean, we'll just rely on matching the bolt pattern. Because we're taking this crankshaft off, I'll end up probably replacing this seal. Stripping the backside of this isn't too much hassle. The front side is a different story. Okay, so it's the next day and we're going to continue working on tearing this engine down. So the very first thing we're going to do here is we're going to remove this spline. So what I did yesterday is I removed the 3 bolts that holds the spline onto the end of the crankshaft. Because it was rusted on, I basically used a chisel and I went around all the way around until I was able to finally pry it off. So now it slides off. As you can see, it's a spline shaft. You know, there's splines on the inside. This is a better view here. And then, of course, there's splines here. So after I put some lubrication on there, this actually comes on and off quite easily now. So I'll make sure I put some anti-seize on that, just in case I ever have to come back in and do this again. So that's off, and now the next thing I have to do is to remove this retainer nut. Hopefully that will allow me to pull off this pulley. So in order to do that, I'm going to use a deep socket. It's 1 1/8, and I'll use my impact and just pull that off. So I have the nut, the retainer nut, pulled off. And now I need to get this pulley off. So three jaw chuck puller. And then there you have it. The bottom pulley comes off. There's even a keyway. There's the corresponding keyway right here. So here's the keyway. So the next step is to take this keyway out in order for us to get the front cover off. So let me see if I can. So I used the chisel just to pry this up. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to set the motor back up on my blocks. Like this. And I'll just take out this one 10mm bolt that I had in here just to keep the cap or the front cover in place while I was doing this. And let's see if the cover now will come off. You can see the gaskets coming apart in a couple of pieces. Oh, I have the governor spring is still in place. Right here where my pointer is, looks like there's some springs. There's a spring right here. And then it looks like there's another spring right here that's being held on or held in place. And what I'm going to do is attempt off of here like that. Okay, but you see this here? This is where that little spring, so this spring here, I have to reconnect it to this lever right here. And now this spring maybe I have to access him through this side panel. Let me just pull this side panel off. So here we go. We're taking off more parts on this engine. We keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper into this thing. So I'm taking off this little window, and I hope that by doing so, I'll have a good view. Let's see. Oh dear. So now, this is the spring that I want to remove right here. I believe this is the governor, so I'm going to insert my needle nose pliers and then rotate that up. So I got it removed from the governor. All right, so now let's see if the whole cover will come off. Yes, here it is. Let's put it down here. I have to remove this crankshaft. Here's the front of the engine now. Wow. And this engine has all sorts of corresponding timing marks. This guy has 3 dots, so 3, 2, and I think the crankshaft has 1. I think it's, and then see there's 2, 1, and 3 on this main shaft here. Looks like I'll have to get a replacement gasket for sure, because the gasket got destroyed when we took this off. So that bolt that you saw me just take out, I believe it goes in here. This goes in like this. Like that. So this sits in the engine block like this. This is this retainer. This is the retainer washer that keeps the bolt from loosening and coming out. And on the end, this sits in the engine like this. And that piece that we removed yesterday holds this in place. So what I'm gonna have to do is, looks like this gasket broke off, so I'm gonna get a new gasket seal for here, and this gasket I'm gonna keep, so I'm gonna replace this one. Okay, so we have the crankshaft removed. Let's just have a quick look at the engine cover. So right here, obviously I'm gonna prepare this surface once the engine comes back from the machine shop, but as you can see, there's a rubber O-ring right here. And then there's an undercut here and an undercut here. If we look over to the front of the engine, right up over here, there is looks like there's an O-ring. There's an O-ring right here, and then there's another one right here, which is going to correspond to this location here. So when I get this engine prepared to be sent to the machine shop, I'll probably spend a few minutes and I'll clean up this surface beforehand. I'll make sure that you don't lose, make sure you pay attention to these little gaskets right here. So I'm going to take it off. And this one goes on the lower portion of the cover. So I'm gonna put him there. And I'll come over here and I'll grab this one. He's high up on the engine, so he goes here like that. All right, so 3 O-rings, 1, 2, 3, and the gasket. And what I'll do is I'll clean off this surface. I hope that the machine shop can do the work with the bearings in place. Apparently they use this opening on the block to anchor the engine down to the machining table. So let's see how this goes. I'm gonna provide him with the engine as is. He may actually remove the oil pump, but I'll leave that on for now and just supply him with the engine as is. So just, I know we're going to cover this in more detail once the engine gets comes back from the machine shop, but just timing is very important for this engine. And just to identify, again, there's 3 dots here, which corresponds to the 3 dots on the injector pump. There's 2 dots here, which will correspond to the 2 dots on the cam. And there's a single dot here that's going to correspond to the crankshaft. And you'll find that single dot once you pull up on this bushing and you raise up this washer. You'll see right on the gear, there's my little dot right there. So I'll use the knife here. So there's the dot. You see the dot? So when I go to put that in, my timing marks all have to work out. So stay tuned. We'll send this block out to the machine shop, and when we get it back, we'll do the rebuild. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.